Okay, what's going on, everybody? We're here, we're alive. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can hear me clearly, please drop a one in the live chat and then we can get today's show started. Once again, if you can hear me clearly, please drop a one in the live chat and then we can get today's show started. And while I'm waiting for the ones to come in, please, if you haven't already, hit the like button. When you hit the like button, it helps to make this video permeate throughout the YouTube algorithm. Therefore, the notifications will go out, and YouTube will also send this live stream out to those who they feel needs to see this, right? Also, please share this video out on your social media networks. That also has the same effect, algorithmically speaking, as it pertains to YouTube being put on notice that people are interested in this video. And lastly, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please, if you haven't already, follow me on Telegram. We broke the 300 mark threshold. I currently have 300 followers on Telegram. The goal is to reach 1,000 followers on Telegram by the end of the year. And the Telegram link is pinned to the top of the live comment section. It will also be pinned in the comment section below after the live stream is over. And it is also in the description box below as well. Now, I see the ones have come in and I'm done with my announcements. So let's get into today's video, right? Now, I'm sure many of you are curious about the title of today's live stream. And the title of today's live stream is, Are Democrats Trying to Recruit Cornel West? No More Green Party. I want to play this video for you all real quick, just so you get a better sense of where I got this thought from, and so you can see where I'm going with it. Now, many of you may remember the video that I released yesterday on this gentleman that's on your screen right now by the name of Dean Phillips, who was a congressman, I believe, out of Minnesota, if I remember correctly. And he's been on numerous mainstream media platforms, from Meet the Press to CNN, being very vocal about the fact that he believes Biden needs to step aside, pass the torch, and not run for re-election, but let a stronger, younger, and more vibrant candidate within the Democratic Party run in his place. So he's been all over the place saying this. But one of the things that stood out to me was when he said what I'm going to play for you right now, coming towards the end of his interview on Meet the Press. So let me play this for you right now, and then we'll get further into the discussion.
I'm not going to be quiet now, 5 years later, when the same trauma could be afflicting the country if Donald Trump is reelected. So I will do nothing to ensure that Donald Trump is reelected. But Chuck, it's really important that people know this. I'm doing just the opposite. And if people aren't willing right now to have that conversation, to have the discussion, and most importantly, to present some alternatives, how in the world are we going to look at these numbers and say everything's okay? But hopes and dreams and prayers, I love them. They don't solve gun violence. They don't give health insurance to Americans, right? And they sure as heck won't change the numbers that I'm seeing right now.
Have you talked to Joe Manchin? You want him to run in a Democratic primary instead of as an independent for no labels?
I want anybody who wants to run, Joe Manchin, Cornel West, any of the governors.
You want him in the primary?
In the primary. That's why we have primaries, because that doesn't undermine the likelihood of returning, in this case, a Democrat to the White House. So that is the key. Enter the primary, my friends. Everybody who is on the bench, meet the moment. Don't wait 5 years. We need you now.
Now, when he said that, that's what made me trigger the thought that the Democratic Party is actively making an attempt to recruit Cornel West. Understand, he was asked a direct question, Dean Phillips, about Joe Manchin. And you see they even have Joe Manchin up in the background behind him as they're speaking on him. And he was asked whether or not he feels Joe Manchin should not run as an independent against Joe Biden under the no third party, no labels party, but to run as a Democrat to primary Joe Biden. Dean Phillips made it his point to insert Cornel West into the mix, saying at the end of that dialogue, come on home, right? And now I know for some people this might seem like a stretch. And I remember thinking to myself, well, wow, if Cornel West actually did switch up and join the Democrats, that would be probably one of the greatest, just bait and switch moves of all time. But when I had a conversation with our good brother Rob from Blacklight Revelations 2 about this, he put the impression upon me and kind of got me to understand something that I kind of knew already, but it was good to have this good reminder of what he told me. He said, Cornel West switching up and moving Democrat, if he is indeed being actively recruited by them, wouldn't be as far-fetched as you might think it is. Because when you think about the Green Party and you look at their party platform and what they run on, not Cornel West, but the Green Party overall, the Green Party's platform, in essence, is no different from the Democratic Party platform. The Green Party platform, the Green Party in and of itself, are just disgruntled Democrats, essentially, as well as progressives. Progressives are just disgruntled Democrats. If we're being honest, right? If we're being honest, that's what they are. They're disgruntled Democrats. So it wouldn't be that far-fetched for him to switch sides and say, you know what? I'm going to run on a Democratic ticket. Secondly, also as well, this man, Dean Phillips, is a member of the Democratic leadership team. So understand, he's not speaking on his own accord. This is something that was agreed upon. Him going on all of these channels, right? Meet the Press, CNN, mainstream media, Democratic Party channels, and putting it out there that Cornel West should consider becoming a Democrat and primarying Joe Biden, as well as Joe Manchin and a host of others. Because he didn't just specifically focus on Cornel West. He's been putting a call to action for all Democrats to stand up. And for those of you who think you're strong enough to run for president, to do it. I want to play another clip for you right now where he speaks on that. And then I want to come back into the discussion.
This about Democrats, it's really important. Joe Biden right now is down 7 points in the 4 swing states that will decide the next election. He has historically low approval numbers, Chuck. There are about 55% of Democrats would like to see an alternative. I can keep going down the list. The fact of the matter is
everything you're saying we've all heard in
right.
private as well. Why do you think it's all private? Why do you think this hand-wringing is only really gone public through you?
It's very simple. People are focused on self-preservation and not principle. There is no political reward in the United States right now for simply speaking the truth.
So what's happening right now is that this man who's part of the Democratic Party leadership team, he's actively telling other Democrats on all these mainstream media platforms that it is okay, it is safe for you to come out and run against Biden. It is okay and it is safe for you to come out and to a degree be against Biden as it pertains to you presenting yourself as a stronger candidate to beat Donald Trump, right? Now, understand there's a big difference between what he's calling for right now and also what we've seen happen in New York with Eric Adams, right? Because some people may look at Dean Phillips and say, wow, so Dean Phillips can call on Joe Biden to step aside and tell other Democrats that they can step forward and challenge Joe Biden, but Eric Adams can't speak out against what's happening in New York City concerning open borders and the illegal immigrants being shipped to his city, right? Now he's being casted out by the Democrats. Those are two completely different things, right? In essence, what you see happening with Eric Adams in New York, and if I may use a sports analogy and football as well, right? Eric Adams is messing up the play that the Democrats are running. Open borders, you can look at, is a play. This is something that they want to do. It's very intentional. They're running a play. And Eric Adams being against open borders, essentially by speaking out against Joe Biden and laying the blame at his feet, could actually hurt Biden's chances of winning, right? You're hurting the chances of winning by being so vocal at laying the blame at Joe Biden's feet concerning what's happening with the so-called migrant crisis in New York. But what Dean Phillips is calling for is essentially, if I can continue on with the sports analogy, what Dean Phillips is calling for is for simply a stronger quarterback, if you get what I'm saying. All right. They want a stronger quarterback. And I see Stay Calm. You are 100% correct. And I was going to get to this later. Gavin Newsom is their secret weapon. He is their secret weapon. But I don't want to lose track of where I was going with this. That's the difference between what Dean Phillips is doing and what's going on with Eric Adams, right? And it makes all the sense in the world that they would even throw a pitch out there for Cornel West to join, because that's how desperate they are to win this election, because it's really looking bad for Joe Biden. I want to get into another clip where he runs down some numbers, and then I want to go through a few articles afterwards. But listen to what Dean Phillips had to say concerning Joe Biden's essentially his chances of winning and what's going on, within the Democratic Party. But before I do that, thank you very much, Jay Freeman Blackman, for you being the first person to contribute to today's stream. Thank you very much. I genuinely appreciate it, and it does not go unnoticed. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Now, let's get into this other video now.
To reassure you, he is up to a second.
My apologies. Let me rewind that back.
What can President Biden do to reassure you he is up to a second term?
I'm not saying he's not up to a second term. What I'm saying is look at the data. I listen. My job is to listen. I do it every single day back in Minnesota.
Right. Can he change the data?
That's the challenge. I come from the marketing world. You just explained my background. Sometimes you got a product that is extraordinary, meets the moment, you think is going to be the next big thing, and it just doesn't happen. And in business, you got to recognize it, because the data speaks the truth. The data is speaking the truth right now. And if nobody's willing to talk about it before it's too late, that's the key.
Once again, I want to reiterate, this is not just some Joe Schmo congressman, right? He is a member of the Democratic leadership team. So when he's speaking here, he is not speaking on his own behalf. He is speaking on the behalf of the Democratic Party leadership team. So what's happening right now is the Democrats internally are making an effort and making an attempt to pressure Biden into stepping down so that a more younger, vibrant, more likable candidate like a Gavin Newsom can step up and step in smoothly without too much hiccup. But if Biden isn't going to play ball in that regards, if he's not going to do that, then what is also happening here, as we've been listening to Dean Phillips say so far, he has sounded the alarm that it's okay for others to step up and challenge Biden if you feel that you're strong enough already. In the last video that I made yesterday concerning Dean Phillips, he ran down a host of names of governors that he felt would be strong candidates, one of them being Illinois' Governor J.B. Pritzker. And he preferably wants a moderate to run against Joe Biden in the primaries. But like I said earlier, and as I saw some of you put in the live chat, Gavin Newsom here in California is really their secret weapon. He's their secret weapon, if we're being honest, right? But also as well, if the point is just to get Joe Biden out of the mix, then it also makes sense as well for them to go after Cornel West also, right? As we saw Dean Phillips name drop Cornel West in the first video. He was asked a very specific question about Joe Manchin. Dean Phillips pivoted to Cornel West. The host then said, almost shockingly, in the primaries, meaning like against being a Democrat? Dean Phillips replies, yes, we need all hands on deck. No sitting on the bench. And he ended that statement with, come on home, right? Once again, which makes all the sense in the world, because when you're talking about progressives and you're talking about Green Party members, and I see some of you in the live chat, you're a little, a little salty, Cornel West isn't going to flip and, you're off on this one. And that's okay. That's okay. We can disagree, right? But it's not really that far-fetched. It really isn't that far-fetched for Cornel West to flip. I'm not saying that he will, but what I'm saying is that it's not far-fetched and that the Democrats do seem to be openly recruiting him, because once again, this is a member of the Democratic leadership team. So he wouldn't be saying that just to say it. The Democrats are down bad right now. Biden is down bad right now. And it's not looking good against him versus Trump. Let me go over a few articles very quickly. We're not going to be here too much longer, right? So give me just a second while I pull this up for you. Now, here's a quick New York Times article, and I just want to go through a few things very quickly on here. But before I do, there are 352 of you in the live stream right now. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. That is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, and also share this video out on your social media platforms. Now, let's get into this article here by New York Times very quickly. Can the race really be that close? Yes, Biden and Trump are tied. After Democrats fared well against MAGA candidates in the midterms last year, it might have been reasonable to think that President Biden would have a clear advantage in a rematch against Donald Trump. Yet, despite the Stop the Steal movement, the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, and the numerous investigations facing Mr. Trump, Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump are still tied, each at 43% among registered voters in our first times Siena poll of the 2024 election cycle. Now, here's the part here that I really want to hone in on, right? I want to scroll down over here that I have highlighted in blue, and I'll even zoom in so you can see it better. Because this also highlights to me why inserting Cornel West into the mix makes all the sense in the world. Why it makes all the sense in the world for them to recruit him, right? And to make an attempt and an appeal towards him. To the extent the survey suggests a slightly closer race than 4 years ago, it appears mostly attributable to modest Trump gains among Black, Hispanic, male, and low-income voters. I'm going to repeat that again. To the extent the survey suggests a slightly closer race than 4 years ago, it appears attributable to modest Trump gains against Black, Hispanic, male, and low income voters. Okay? Those modest gains with Black voters, those modest gains, particularly with Black males, are critical. They're critical. This is why we've seen articles like the Washington Post article that a lot of people have been talking about was created, right? Because essentially this is sounding the alarm. Democrats worry their most loyal voters won't turn out for Biden in 2024. They're worried about that. And I believe the reason that they're worried about that is particularly because as we're moving into this next election, I would like to believe that Black voters are coming out of this funk of being fear-mongered by the Republicans, right? Or I should say, coming out of funk of allowing Democrats to fear-monger them with the Republicans, right? This whole idea that the Republicans are going to get you. The Republicans, they're gonna put you back in chains, like Joe Biden said, right? He said they're gonna put you all back in chains. They're gonna strip away all of our rights, right? They're gonna have us back on the plantation. People aren't really going for that anymore. You can't just keep hitting us with the fear-mongering tactics. Many are fed up. They're not seeing any real tangible changes in their lives. And if they're not going to vote for Biden, if they're not going to vote for Trump, then they're certainly not going to just continue to give their vote away to a Democrat for him to not do his or her job, right? Once again, the fear tactics, the fear mongering isn't really working anymore.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
That's not scaring anybody anymore, that they're going to put us back in chains, right? So once again, this is why I feel that it was very critical that they make this recruit attempt at Cornel West. This is where Cornel West actually comes into play, is when we're talking about the black vote, right? This is where Cornel West comes into play largely, because that's what the Democratic Party is concerned with: the modest gains by black males and low-income voters, as well as Hispanics. The modest gains that Trump has gotten with them. Cornel West would do great in being able to pull them back in if they were to be able to successfully recruit him, right? If they were able to do that. Now, I want to go through a couple other things as well, because I really just want to highlight how just down bad Joe Biden is right now. It's just not looking good at all. It's looking very scary for him right now.
They're going to put you all back in chains. They're going to
put y'all back in chains if we don't vote Biden in. They're going to put us back in chains. What I want to do now is get into this quick article here, and it's just a poll that shows Biden approval ratings holds at record low as Americans feel they're falling behind, right? As they feel they're falling behind. President Joe Biden's approval rating remained a record low in August, according to the latest IBD TIPP poll, as Americans grew more concerned about inflation and gasoline prices, despite headline price increases cooling. The August IBD/TIPP poll shows 38% of Americans age 18 and up approve of how Biden is handling the presidency, and 51% disapprove. This is a net approval rating of negative 13 points, matches July, and weaker than negative 11 points in June and negative 6 points in May. So as time has gone on, right? As time has gone on, Biden is doing progressively worse and worse. In May, he was only negative 6. In June, he was negative 11. Last month, he was negative 13. And then you combine that with the fact that the greatest vice president in American history, Kamala Harris, has received, as this article states, Kamala Harris receives worst vice presidential rating in NBC News polls history. NBC News said Harris' net negative 17 rating was the lowest rating for a vice president in the history of its poll. Now, this also brings into question as well, and I'm not going to go, too deep into this, but it really makes you wonder, right? How is it possible that Biden and Harris were able to capture, what was it, the largest black vote in American history? This was the largest turnout of voters, I believe, in American history in 2020. This record high with voting, right, concerning Biden. So you got the most votes, if I'm not mistaken, in American history. And now by the end of your term, your administration is arguably the least approved in history. Record low approvals. I don't know, man. It really makes you wonder about what some people say about last election. You apparently got all these votes, so you were the most voted for, and now you're the most hated. That's a huge swing to the opposite direction. A very huge swing to the opposite direction. If we're taking into account, that the voting system that we have is still operating correctly. But like I said, I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole because I haven't done any research into that. I've heard what people have said, but I just wanted to throw that out there because I felt that it was very interesting. But in closing, when you look at all the information as it's been presented to you, and you see how bad that Biden is doing so bad that a member of the Democratic leadership team is now going on multiple mainstream media platforms calling for other Democrats to step up and challenge Joe Biden, and also throwing a pitch at Cornel West as well, right? What this signals to me is that Biden is on the path to lose this election, and the Democrats are extremely desperate. And it is also not that far-fetched to conceive the thought that Cornel West could flip sides and join the Democrats. It's not really that far-fetched. I don't believe that he will do it. That's just my personal belief. But I actually wouldn't be that shocked anymore. Because at the end of the day, if we're being honest, and sorry for my Green Party members in here, and sorry for my progressives in here, but if we're being honest, essentially, progressives and Green Party members are just disgruntled Democrats. If we're being honest, right? And the idea of even Cornel West becoming president isn't far-fetched either. I know some of you think that, okay, now you're just talking super crazy. But if Trump was able to pull it off, he broke the mold. We're talking about a social media star. He's not the first entertainer to become president. Ronald Reagan was an actor before he became president. But Ronald Reagan was also, if I'm not mistaken, the governor of California as well before doing so. Well, those old, way of doing things concerning becoming president of the United States have shattered into a million pieces anymore. The old model of being a mayor of a city first and being a governor and then running for president is over, right? Running for the House of Representatives, then going to run and become a senator. And then after becoming a senator, now you run for president. Those days are over. You got reality TV show stars running for president now. And if he was able to win, it's not really that far-fetched that Cornel West could become president as well if he actually flips sides. But once again, I don't believe that he's going to do that. I don't believe that he will, but who knows? Only time will tell. So with all that being said, that does it for today's video. I want to thank you all for joining me today, and I want to thank those of you who contributed to today's stream. There are 460 of you in the live stream right now. If you haven't already, please hit the like button on your way out. Please hit the like button if you have not already. Thank you very much. Rise and shine for the super chat at the buzzard at the last minute. Thank you very much, Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine said, guess the Dems don't want a Niger Coupe situation. No, they don't. They don't want that at all. They do not want that at all. The Democrats are doing their darndest to win this election. They are truly doing their darndest to win this election. And once again, when we go back and we revisit the original video that I started to stream with the Dean Phillips, one of the members of the Democrat leadership team, when you have him coming out and inserting Cornel West where no one was even talking about him. The host didn't ask you about Cornel West. The host asked you about Joe Manchin. You made it a point to bring up Cornel West. That is something that was agreed upon by that leadership team. He is not solely speaking for himself. He is speaking for the Democratic Party. And once again, with all that being said, I want to thank you all for joining me today. Please hit that like button on your way out. I would deeply appreciate that. Thank you for all of you who supported today's stream, and I will catch you all on the next stream. Until then, have a great afternoon. Peace.